All right, everybody, welcome to the Deprogrammed podcast. I'm your host, Joey McKinnon. This is your co-host,
Suzanne Luke.
It's a pleasure to have you. Part of what we do here on Deprogrammed is look into the programming or the behaviors that have been coached to us throughout the years, throughout our lives, look into the truth of that and dig deeper. We like to dig deep below the surface into things. And the medical industrial complex, as we like to call it, because it has become that, has become very, very powerful over the last couple of decades. And COVID was a big indication of that. So a lot of people got their awakening during COVID, and medical freedom has become a big part of who they are and what they do. Our first guest on the Deprogrammed podcast is a nurse by the name of Kerrie Marie, beyond the matrix. She has spent more than 31 years inside the medical system, from being an Army combat medic to a FEMA nurse, and walked away when integrity mattered most to her. She's now helping people find real healing beyond the matrix. Welcome, Nurse Kerrie Marie.
Yay.
Thanks for joining us,
Kerrie. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, it's great. And just call me Nurse Kerrie.
Nurse Kerrie.
Thank you so much.
So your past is very colorful. You were an Army medic. Tell us how that came to be. That's very interesting.
So I was at college one day, just walking in between classes, and there was an Army recruiter standing out there and started talking to me and asked what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I want to be a nurse. And they said, well, how about if we tell you that we can make you a nurse? I said, at the time I was 17 years old. It was during the summer after I graduated high school. We just started talking, and we went to MEPS. I think that's what we call it, MEPS, right?
Yep,
it's been
MEPS.
so long. And that's when they tell you what job you're going to get. And he's like, well, we can't make you a nurse, but we're going to make you a medic. And I said,
Even
well,
cooler.
I said, okay. I mean, I can still go to nursing school. That's not a problem. I ended up signing up as a combat medic. And I never got deployed anywhere. It was all reserve time. When I went in, it was right towards the end of Desert Storm. Mm-hmm. And that was 1993. And then I went to basic training in January of 94. So
Where did you go to basic?
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And it was cold.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
It was very cold. We did our road march in the snow. And I think I got frostbite on my toe.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It was really, really cold. And so many soldiers found a way to get out of the road march. It's like where you have your rucksack on with, I don't even remember how much weight it was, but it was just funny because it's like, where is everybody? Because everybody else found a way to get out of it. You know, they came up with some excuse. So I did it, but it was snowing and it was very, very cold. And that's where I did basic training. I got through it. I mean, I was young and didn't know any better.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you need, right? To get through some
I
of those
know.
things.
Yeah. So,
That was your introduction. So you had a desire for the medical field before that. What kind of sparked that desire?
yeah, so I was right around 8 years old when I decided I wanted to be a nurse. My grandmother was a diabetic, and she had vision loss as a result of the diabetes, and she took insulin, so I stayed with her quite a bit on the weekends. My dad had gigs on the weekend. One of his side jobs was a musician, so him and my mom would go out on the weekend where he was playing, and she would go support him, and my grandmother stayed with us, my sister and I, on the weekend. I took care of her. I would bring her insulin on a little table, like a little tray, and orange juice, because back then that's what they used to do. They would take their insulin and then they would chase it with orange juice. I just knew that I always wanted to be a nurse. It's just something that's in you, that you're born with.
Yeah.
It's a calling. So that's when I knew. It's just something that I've always known. I was young.
Where was that combat medic training at?
Fort Sam, Texas. Went right after basic training. I went and did the combat medic training. And they said, well, looks like you're in the reserves. Don't you want to go active duty? They said, come on, don't you want to do this full time? I said, well, I want to be a nurse. So I need to get back home so I can go to school to be a nurse. And they said, you can do that active duty in the Army. I said, well, it's not guaranteed, and you never know where you're going to end up. You could be, and there was no such thing as online school back then. That age shows my age there. I wasn't willing to take the risk. I said, but you told me that you were going to make me a nurse. So here I am. I just decided to stay in the reserves. At one point, they approached me and they said, well, we know you're a medic now, and we need LPNs. And I said, I don't want to be an LPN, I want to be an RN. They said, we're going to go ahead and put you on active duty, and then we're going to pay for you to go to a civilian school. We're going to pay you E5 salary, which at the time I was 19 years old. And
pretty good money, yeah.
And I think back then it was about $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Which is like, whoa, okay, well, wait a second here. So you meaning to tell me that I'm going to make $5,000 a month and you're going to pay me basically to go to school to be an LPN? I said, okay. And they paid for my uniforms, they paid for the books, everything. So I did not pass that opportunity up. And when I finished, I got promoted to sergeant. So 20 years old I was when I graduated LPN school, and became a sergeant, and then just worked as an LPN, took my prerequisites to be an RN. And then I applied to the University of Florida and some other colleges. I got in everywhere that I applied, but my heart was to go to the University of Florida. Go Gators! Yes, and so that's what I did. I applied to UF, got in, and I think having the LPN and the medic, definitely that background helped me quite a bit with my clinical aspect portion of it.
Right.
In fact, I was teaching the instructor how to do things. It had been so long since she had been at the bedside, and so here I am teaching the instructor. But being an LPN definitely made me a better RN. I worked as an LPN for 5 years while I was working my way to be an RN. Yep, so I graduated with my BSN in 2001 from University of Florida. I call it my degree in nursing indoctrination. Right.
What was it like treading between those two worlds as a reservist, as a medic and an LPN in the reserves, and then working as an LPN in the civilian world?
I learned very quickly that the scope was much wider as a medic, what you can do in the military, as opposed to what you can do in the civilian world. In the military, as a medic, combat medic, you're treating on the battlefield. There's a lot of medics that function like a physician, really. Again, I never got deployed anywhere, but the things that I was learning as a medic were definitely things that could come from a physician. So it definitely not the same.
As somebody that was in the Navy and the Coast Guard myself, the Navy and the Coast Guard have similar jobs, but the Coast Guard's so much smaller, you have a lot more responsibility. So is it the same way when you're in the military compared to the civilian world? You got all that responsibility because you're the person, you're Doc, right? You're the one.
Right, absolutely. In the military, your scope is much wider. There's so many more things that you can do. It was very, very helpful.
Do you recommend military service to young people now?
That's a good question. If you were to ask me this pre-COVID, I would say yes, absolutely. Right now, just with the way things are, I honestly don't know. When we had the potato in office and I got a call from the Army, or it was one of the recruiters, about one of my boys to enlist. I think it was my son Holden. And this was when the potato was in office. And they had mentioned, would my son be interested? I said, absolutely not. I said, there's no way that I'm sending my kid to another country to have their leg blown off, or to have a traumatic brain injury, or to get PTSD to make these fat cats richer and fatter. Because at that point, I knew what was happening. At one point, just thought how great it was to be able to serve, and I'm here to defend and protect. But then once I learned the truth of the matter about why these wars happen, and the terminology of false flag, and how these wars are started basically on purpose to make individuals richer, number one, and number two, for genocide. Mm-hmm. So once I learned the truth of the matter about that, I kind of felt like my whole military service was a lie. It was just very eye-opening that at one point I had signed my life away for, for a government that really could give two shits
for
about
a corporation.
me. They don't, they
For
really,
profit.
they don't care. And so I said, and I told the recruiter that I said, maybe you could give a call back after we get this guy out of the office. But again, realizing more that they're all on the same team. And, at the end of the day, they're puppets and the puppeteers are in charge.
Yeah. Who's he playing to now, right?
And honestly, it was the greatest thing that I could have ever done. It was,
Right.
it gave me a jump start on my career and was very, very good for me. At the time, I was kind of lost to hanging out, partying, smoking weed, doing the party drugs. And I knew that I was going to go down a bad path if I didn't do something. So that was another reason I decided to go in the military, was like just kind of a way to get out of the environment that I was in. While everybody was partying back home, I was off in basic training. So
Where's home?
I don't regret the decision for me, but times have changed and it's a much different world now than it was even 5 years ago.
So where's home? Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I moved down here to Florida. Now I live in St. Pete. I moved down in April. Here it is November, and it's the right decision. It's a great decision. Everything is in alignment. Everything's just flowing to me the way it should, and I feel like I really had to get out of that area. I feel like you can't grow if you're still in the same environment. I feel like a lot of times you have to make changes to be able to blossom into something better and bigger. So the move was really good for me, and it also enabled me to really be able to focus on my mission, which is the cancer protocol, and being able to spread awareness about that.
Let's go back just a little bit, because the timeline I'm kind of following here, the military and then working as a civilian. How long did you stay in the military, and when did this awakening start to happen? Was that while you were in the military or after?
Well, I stayed in the military in the reserves for 8 years. And as far as my awakening to what was happening, it was pre-COVID, probably right around 2016 was when I started researching and looking into all the things in the world. What movie was it? It was, gosh, I can't think of the name of the movie.
Was it Fall of the Cabal, was it?
That was it. Yeah, the Fall of the Cabal.
It's a big one for a lot of people.
That's an impactful, yeah.
And there were some things that I said, yep, okay, I believe it. But then there were other things that I laughed at, like the chemtrails. I said, no, I don't think I believe that one. And I laughed about it. I said, but I do believe a lot of the other stuff. And I had at one point had somebody years and years and years ago just come up to me and show me the dollar bill and show me the Illuminati sign and the all-seeing eye. And he was going on and on. I thought he was crazy.
That's what I called Joey for a long time.
Hey, I've been that way for a long time now. Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way. It can't be. And so I just never thought anything of it, and years go by. And then I'm sitting here watching the movie, and of course that part of the dollar sign was on the Fall of the Cabal. And so that triggered a memory. I said, oh my gosh, somebody tried to tell me this years and years ago. And that's where I really started looking into things. And then, of course, Trump got in, and he started calling out the fake news. And I just love the way he says it. It's so funny. But I said, well, I mean, surely they're not lying about everything. And of course, a couple of years later, COVID happens, and that blew everything out of the water. That's when I really, really started to truly wake up. But I feel like even like now that I'm awake on my spiritual journey, because I feel like when I learned about all the stuff that was going on in the world, that led me to more of a spiritual awakening. Because how can you not learn the truth of the matter of everything going on in the world and not see that it is demonic? Everything that is happening, it's literally just evil. And so I don't know how anybody can see the truth of the matter, what's going on, and not see that there's a God, right? Yeah. And I had always believed, but it brought it to the next level. It brought it to the fact that, well, if they're this evil, then what do I need to do to not be deceived anymore? And so that just goes into the whole spiritual awakening. And I feel like just when I feel like I'm awake spiritually, another hour goes by, another day goes by, and I'm even more enlightened. I think it's a continual process.
Yeah, once those blinders come off, it's open to everything. Everything opens up. So I've been a conspiracy theorist for a long time. When I was in the military in the late 80s, early 90s, I saw firsthand that the public did not know what we were up to in the military. Like we were in Iran and we were doing things over there that nobody knew about over here. We had to keep it secret. That just changed the way I thought about everything. When I saw the news, I said, well, if this isn't true, then what else isn't true? So I started to look at everything with that discerning eye. And when you open that, that bottle, the genie comes out. And one thing I've attributed it to is I attribute it to putting together a puzzle. All these events happen and they come together like pieces of a puzzle. The surface level public doesn't see each event as a piece of a puzzle. They just see it as its own individual event. But when you put them all together and you start to look at the picture that it makes, that's a more realistic picture. But even then, you're not seeing the true picture. It's not till you turn the puzzle over and look at what's on back that you start to really see the truth. And I think a lot of people are realizing that now, because even though they saw the pieces fit together, the picture still looked kind of fuzzy. And then people are starting to flip the puzzle pieces since COVID, I think. And this Charlie Kirk incident has been a huge, huge wake-up call for a lot of people, I believe.
Yes. It's really hard to go back between 3D and 5D reality because there are still those that are in the 3D reality and mentality where they look at that situation and they really believe that that's his wife. It's clearly an actress. That's not her. I mean, I knew that from the beginning when that first night she went on TV and was addressing the situation. And I looked at my roommate. I said, that's not her. I said, that's a 50-year-old woman or something. I said, that's not, that is not her. And he just looked at me. He's like, well, you got to understand, she's been crying, so she's bloated and she's tired and this. And I just looked at him. I said, that's not her. I said,
dry tears.
I said, and look at this. I said, it's so fake. It is so staged. This is not real. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So I had to play along in the make-believe of that reality because there are so many people that they still think that this is all real, that these aren't psyops or these aren't actors. And
no, Kerrie, hold on a second. You got to say it the way she does it. I had to play along.
My friend sent me the reel where she had posted where she was touching his hand, and I said, that's not even a real hand. I said, so what the hell is that? I said, that is a mannequin. That is not even a real hand. And the way she was touching his body and just all over him, and then she posted it on social media. I thought that was so strange. I said, this whole thing just stinks. And the energy vampires bringing everybody's vibe down. I mean, there were so many people in mourning, and I had to play along like, oh yeah, I know it's so sad, but I am talking to my friends that are in reality, that are on this D reality, and it's just so nice to be able to have people to talk to that can see what's going on, and you're not crazy. Because now Candace Owens has been calling out what's going on, and Stu Peters is calling it out, and there's a very few, so it's becoming more apparent who is controlled opposition, I guess, if you will, because our government is just going along with this story. They're just they're just going along, and I'm like, okay, when are you going to stop lying to us? This is a movie that we're watching. this is not real, and people are starting to see now that people are memeing about it. Then it's gone mainstream. So I think that this has been one of the things that has woken up a lot of people. They're like, something just doesn't feel right about this. It seems fake. It seems staged. And then don't even get me started when she came out with the leather pants and was basically and then walked up to the vice president, and what was she doing with rubbing her hands through his hair? I was thinking, he's just like my husband.
Yeah.
So who's calling it next that they're going to be together? And they're going to just try to, it's like the whole thing with Taylor Swift and that football player. What's his name?
I don't know.
Travis Kelce.
Whatever.
Yeah, that guy.
I mean, that is so staged, and it's just to keep people. It's just for their entertainment. It's to keep them asleep. It's to keep them focusing on that and putting their energy on that, so they're not busy trying to open their third eye.
We all come into this world perfect. And then somewhere along the way, we get infused with stories, patterns, programs, and we carry things that are not ours to carry. And without even realizing it, those patterns begin running our life, not because we're broken, but because the mind is simply doing what it needs to do to protect us. The Threadbreaker Protocol is the path to your original clarity. It shows you the program that has been operating in the background and shows you how to dissolve it. It does this with awareness, with compassion, and with choice. When you shift the meaning, you change the story. When you change the story, your life follows. So if you feel the pull, if you're here and you know that something inside of you wants more, knows more, then go to threadbreakerprotocol.com. Because the moment you remember who you are is the moment everything changes.
Let's go back some more, because I'm trying to stay on the timeline here. We can go so many different directions, but
I know, you got to come back.
This has to do with that, right?
Right.
When you were deployed in 2020 to New York City, talk about fake news and things that were being out. What were you seeing there compared to what we were being told?
Okay. So, let's just start off when I got to New York City. It was myself and two other nurses from Gainesville, because we had done some hurricane relief together. So, of course, we were the first people they called when the COVID situation started and asked if we wanted to go. And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, sure. I never got deployed anywhere when I was in the military, so I guess this will be kind of like a deployment, if you will. So I just thought it was really strange that when we got there, we were the only ones there, and we were being told through email that, yeah, you guys are the first ones there, but we'll be there in like 2 or 3 days. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if this is such an emergency, why isn't everybody here? What's going on? And then I remember very specifically that it was an announcement that was made that, okay, on this day, which was a couple of days later from that, this is when everything's going to shut down. Everything except, what do they call it? The essential businesses, like, McDonald's and Starbucks. And I was like, isn't that strange? I thought this was some big emergency and people were dropping dead on the street. And so why are we waiting a couple of days if it's such an emergency and it's so important to get everybody inside? So that was one red flag. And then you going around to the stores, and I literally felt like I was in a movie. They had in the stores in New York masks on the mannequins.
Wow.
I still have video of that. And then, of course, you're in downtown Times Square, and all over the billboards is stop the spread. We're all in this together. And it's just the feeling that it gave me that I knew something was off. As far as what we were being told on TV, at one point they sent the ship, I think it was USS Mercy. It was just all this propaganda saying, oh, there goes the ship. The hospitals are full, and and this is to help take some of the load off what's going on in the hospital. It just sat there. There were no patients on that ship. In fact, all the nurses, they took some time to leave where we were and go over to the ship so they could take pictures in front of it. It was a photo op, and it was propaganda for CNN and Fox News. So,
wow,
why didn't they use that? Like, why? It was just more propaganda. The inconsistencies regarding about having to get all the ventilators. I remember them saying, oh, we need the ventilators, and we need to get more. In the hospital, I don't remember really having a shortage of ventilators. I can say that we were busy, but it wasn't to the extent that they were making it sound like on TV. Of course, everything's more dramatic on the news. It was, I'm not going to say it wasn't busy, but it wasn't to the extent. And then at one point, Governor Cuomo sent out a memorandum because I went to work one day and they show this piece of paper, this memo from Governor Cuomo saying that we are not to do CPR on individuals anymore because of the possibility that we would get COVID from the patient. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. If we're wearing PPE, which remember we couldn't hear enough about how we were having a shortage of PPE? Well, that was false. That was bullshit because one shift I was walking around the hospital and there was a closet that was filled with PPE, top to bottom, packed. They were hiding it back. And I'm like, what are we waiting for, a rainy day for that? Why were they hoarding PPE? And I really wish I would have taken video of that. So I was like, that was another thing that they were lying about. And then as far as the refrigerator trucks go, they were outside, but I never saw the inside of one. And again, it's thinking back, that was probably just another part of the PSYOP and the photo op is to have the refrigerator trucks there just to instill more fear.
So the ventilators, once people got on the ventilators, they were pretty much just gone.
That was it. Point. I only know of just a couple of individuals that actually lived that were put on ventilators. Because I was in the ER, but I had nurse friends that were in the ICU. They all died. It was a mass genocide going on, and nobody has been held accountable. And here it is 5 years later. And I literally was the one to watch somebody take their last breath, and you could just see the fear in their eyes. And the hospital that I was in, all the patients spoke Spanish, and I know just enough to make me dangerous, un poquito. We didn't have FaceTime at that point. I know as time went on, we started using FaceTime, but everybody was scared to take their phone out and put it in the air because of the way they made it sound that you would just get it breathing the outside air. We literally had our phones in plastic bags because of the fear of contamination.
How long did you fall for that?
I would say when I got back from New York, so I was in New York for almost 4 weeks. And when I got back, because I've been listening to different podcasts and different alternative news sites, and that's when I started realizing that things weren't adding up and we were being lied to. Just the whole thing about how the virus can be outside and going outside was dangerous. So I would have to say when I got back from New York was when I really, because I was in quarantine for 2 weeks, so I got paid by the government to sit at home for 2 weeks. So that's when I started really doing some research because I had time. And I was getting paid $10,000 a week to sit at home, which corruption pays well.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it does.
Well, I mean, we were getting paid to carry out their,
orders.
Their orders, to murder people. Times.
Crazy time. So did you ever read the book, The Real Anthony Fauci by RFK Jr.?
I did not.
Okay. 24-hour long book on Audible, just so you know. But he delves very deep into that. It's just going to piss you off. Just a little heads up, but it's in line with everything you're doing right now as well. It's worth the read. Did you have something about the medical part you wanted to ask?
I have like a million things.
Okay, I'm going to let Suzanne talk now since I've been
No, so you're in there and you're so courageous and you're following like do no harm. I know that's on your I think your Facebook page too. And coming from being 8 years old, knowing that you wanted to help people and be a nurse, and then being in the military and beginning to see the deprogramming happening in yourself. And then you go to New York and then you have this moment where you're like, oh, I've got to take a different direction. So you mentioned awakening and spirituality. You have a strong calling to stand for truly helping people. And when did that shift happen when you're like, because you had to have known what you were about to go up against and what was about to happen, or did you not?
Yeah, the establishment.
The fat cats, as we mentioned earlier.
So my true I guess you could say, moment was when I shared a screenshot of a protocol that Dr. William Mackes had co-authored, the lead author, Dr. Ilyas Bogley, and the name of the protocol is the Hybrid Orthomolecular Protocol for Cancer. And I just saw something on social media one day, and it was Dr. Mackes' post that said the future of cancer treatment starts now, and was talking about the use of ivermectin and repurposed medications. And I thought, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So I just took a screenshot, shared it on Instagram. I think I had 400 followers at the time. Didn't think anything of it. Didn't put a hashtag. Didn't @ anybody. And somehow, a couple months later, I noticed I got a new follower. And I said, oh, who's this that follows me? Because you just want to see who's following you. And I go, and I'm like, who is this? I'm like, this someone from another country? I'm like, oh, this is weird. So something told me to reach out. And I said, hi, what inspired you to follow me? And they said, well, you shared my protocol. And I had no idea what they were talking about. And next thing you know, I get sent a link to this protocol. And I opened it, and I said, oh, I don't know what this is. And it triggered just rang a bell. And he's like, thank you so much for sharing my protocol. And I realized that I was talking to the lead author of the protocol that's all the way in Algeria. So somehow that post on Instagram ended up over there. And him and I have already talked about it being just because we're in the quantum field and we're just connected. And it made its way over to him. And then he asked me to continue to share it. I said, okay, no problem. And then he said, well, you want to interview me on Instagram Live? And I said, I have no idea. I didn't say this to him, but I was so scared. So I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do that. Me? Why is he asking me to do this? Why doesn't he ask somebody else? Like, why is he asking me? And so I just did what you do when you have a feeling, and the feeling inside said, yes, you have to do this. So I said, okay, sure. So I learned really quick. I had to download ChatGPT to find out how to do all of the things on Instagram. And next thing you know, I'm interviewing him, and I was scared. I was so scared. I was so nervous. But I did it, and then I just started making content on Instagram to talk about the protocol and just to bring awareness, just like he had asked me to do. And I had no idea if it was even going to work, but just something inside told me that this was a good thing. It's, I guess, just discernment and seeing what Dr. Mackes had posted before. So I shared the protocol and became more public with it. Went on Nurses Out Loud and talked about the protocol and basically about informed consent. I said, this is not a treatment option that's available when you go to the hospital, and we need to make this an option. And it was everything I could take. I said, this is going to end up, we're going to get this protocol in the hospitals one day. It's going to happen. And just continuing to share, and then now I have a decent following. And fast forward to just a month ago, I get a message from the owner of Ezra Healing, Nurse Svetlana, asking me if I wanted to come work with Ezra Healing. And her company helps individuals that have been vaccine injured and were facing many health problems as a result of the bioweapon. It just made total sense to go work with her because they help individuals heal from cancer. So they're using that protocol. And I said, this is in alignment. This is in alignment. So I did it. But getting back to your question about taking that leap was all because of advocacy. I stepped out into the public when I said when I went on Nurses Out Loud, and then I also was going to MAHA events and other events at the grassroots level and just became involved and started getting on podcasts, doing interviews, and recently was on Stu Peters, and he has quite a decent following, and that's a big platform to get this information out. So I don't have any fear. I'm being led to do this. This is my purpose. And if that gets me in jail or gets me in trouble or gets me, if I lose my nursing license, I'm not saying I want any of that to happen, but it's like whatever it takes for the mission.
We'll come bail you out.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, that you are person 2 and 3 that will bail me out if that happens. Because for me, there's a genocide going on right now, and we need to get this information out to everybody that there is a treatment option for vaccine injury and cancers. When you go to the hospital, they're not even going to acknowledge vaccine injury. You're going to get gaslit. Then when it comes to cancer, it's just your 3 options: chemo, radiation surgery, and hand over the deed to your house, because now you can't pay. You got to get rid of your house because you just spent every dime trying to save your life. it was just important for me to get the information out and to call out a big pharma and the American Cancer Society. They're not looking for a cure for cancer. We all know that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Agreed.
They're not. We, as nurses on the front lines, are bringing this information available, and we have the medications to be able to help individuals. And the state of Florida is now studying it, but we know people don't have time to wait for the government to do their thing and all the red tape before they actually even offer it. So we're like, well, we're going to offer it.
Yeah. Perfect.
So people can't wait. Honestly, this should be offered to every citizen in the United States for free, because our government told everybody to go get this bioweapon, and now they regret it. They're suffering effects and all these issues. The government needs to just offer this to everybody, but that would mean that they have to acknowledge what happened. We're still 4 or 5 years into this, and there's no apology. And Trump still talks about his vaccine, which and then he just got the vaccine supposedly. I'm thinking, wait a second, what reality are we in here? Do we not see what's happening around the country and the world? I mean, how people are just dropping dead.
Everything's a conspiracy theory, right?
We have something called turbo cancer now. We didn't have that terminology.
Childhood diseases that never existed before, heart failure.
Right.
Exactly. In kids, right. Tell us what turbo cancer is real quick. That's a term I don't think many people are familiar with. I heard you mention that on Stu Peters also. Y'all check out that interview. That's a great interview. And Nurses Out Loud. Go ahead.
So turbo cancer is basically you get a diagnosis, and then it's so far, the cancer has spread so quickly that you just die. Like within weeks of getting a diagnosis. It's basically just getting the diagnosis when it's already spread. And a lot of times you'll get the diagnosis when it's in one organ, or even just the start of being in one organ. But now it's not that. They're just going to the ER because they have a belly pain or they're short of breath, and suddenly all of a sudden their whole body's filled with cancer. And we're seeing it in young people, 30-something breast with Mets. Yeah, it's crazy.
This whole protocol really spoke to me when I saw that you were putting it out there. My mom passed of esophageal cancer 10 years ago, and she was diagnosed stage 4 and fought it for 4 years. And she, of course, did chemo and radiation. Course, lost her hair, did all that, and she went from over 200 pounds. She was, a bigger woman. She wasn't fat. She was a big woman, and she was less than 90 pounds when she passed away. It just, the chemo and radiation just ate her body up. There was nothing left. Yeah. But to see what happened during that 4 years, she was taking stuff like Tahitian noni juice and whatever naturopathic stuff we could find at the time. I'd send to her. And she'd try it, and she'd feel better, and the cancer would subside for a little while, and then she'd go to a radiation or a chemo treatment, and then all of a sudden it comes back.
And she probably didn't put 2 and 2 together, did she?
She wouldn't set aside that because she it was programmed. It's programmed. And you go to chemo and radiation, you got cancer, it's your only chance of living. So it was a deep inset program, even though she was seeing different results. I'm wondering how fewer people react that way today compared to 10, 15 years ago. Hopefully, a lot less people are reacting that way now with so much coming out. And the other thing I wanted to ask about ivermectin, what was your experience with ivermectin during COVID? Did you have anything to do with that? Because that was basically, I was exposed to about 8 people within a 24-hour period, took ivermectin, and I never got COVID, never wore a mask the whole time or anything else. So I'm a real big believer in ivermectin, and then some of the other stuff involved in the protocol. Go into that for us, if you would.
Once I knew that hydrochloroquine and ivermectin were useful with COVID and also prophylaxis, I tried to figure out how I could get my hands on it. And it was hard to figure out how to do that. Everything was censored. I mean, do you remember the censorship? It was unreal. You couldn't get through anything. And then you'd click on something and it said, this was taken down. You can't, you can no longer access this video. When I finally did figure out that ivermectin and hydrochloroquine worked, I went to a trusted physician that I used to work with in the emergency department, and I said, hey, do you mind writing me for some ivermectin just to have it prophylactically? And he said, sure. And he wrote me the prescription. I went to have it filled, and CVS said, no, we're not going to fill that. I'm like, what do you mean you're not going to fill that? Wow. They said, no. They said, we can't fill that. And then I went to Walgreens. I checked them as well. Same answer. Finally, I went to Publix and Publix filled it. But the fact that you get a prescription from a doctor, a physician, you go to the pharmacy and your pharmacist is telling you, no, we're not going to fill that. That was wow. That was pretty crazy. And
pretty
finally,
eye-opening, wasn't it?
I'm like, this is crazy. It was clown world, really. Well, I finally was able to fill the prescription. I wasn't taking it prophylactically. I think what I did is I just held on to what I had in case I got it because I didn't have enough for both. And when I did get it for the second time around, I took it and I was better within 12 hours.
When you got
day.
COVID, you took it.
Yep, because I got COVID the first time and I could barely get out of bed. I was so sick. My head was just pounding and I used to get migraines and I had never had such a horrible headache. It took me 2 days to be able to get my head off the pillow to be able to get myself in the car. I had someone else drive me. That's how sick I was. I was sick for about 6 months after that. Just fatigue and my liver enzymes were elevated. I had a bad strain, let's just say that. When I finally did start taking it, I got better very quickly. And I was like, holy crap, this stuff is amazing. So I started telling all my friends about it. And at the time, we were just referring each other to frontline doctors and American frontline nurses, all that for resources and information. And thank God for them.
The United States.
Thank God for them. But yeah, so that's when I first learned that ivermectin was the real deal.
There was a small pharmacy, an apothecary here locally that filled that for me. And it was a guy that I went to church with, a doctor I went to church with, who was a part of the Gulf Coast Doctors for Medical Freedom, which I got to plug in with that group for a while because I was loud enough about it that they wanted my input. And to see all of the harassment that they dealt with during COVID and all the threats that they got to lose their license and everything else, just because they weren't going by the protocol. The Dr. Timothy Boyette that I was talking to about it that helped me, he said, I'm here to diagnose people, not a disease. You don't treat the disease, you treat the person because each person is different. And they've taken that completely away from me. And I'm like, yeah, that's really outside the bounds of what being a doctor is, isn't it? He's like, yeah, he was so conflicted. He was working at a hospital, had his own practice, and he was back and forth, so conflicted with it the whole time.
Profits over patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, isn't it?
Let's say somebody got the COVID-19 vaccine and they're listening to you right now and they're like, oh, I really wished I hadn't have gotten that. What could you tell them right now about what could they do?
Right. So first off, give yourself grace. If you got the COVID-19 vaccination, don't beat yourself up about it. That's not going to do anything. And you have to understand the amount of stress and pressure that you were put under. And you felt that you were put in a situation where you had to choose between your job and putting food on the table or to get the vaccination. So just give yourself grace. And also the body was designed to heal and you have the right mindset. And eat right, you get some exercise. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, just getting outside a couple times a day. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy. We have a protocol at Ezra Healing if you've had the COVID-19 vaccination and you want to detox from it, so we can get that to you and we can coach you along because there will be some lifestyle changes that would have to happen, and it's nothing unreasonable. It's nothing you can't do, but sometimes you just need that motivation, and that's where we come in to help coach you and guide you. We can get you on a protocol and help get that out of your body and give you some meditations to listen to that will put you in the right mindset on a subconscious level that your body will heal. We do offer that service at Ezra Healing, which is great.
And what about someone that's dealing with cancer as well?
Yeah, so same thing. So if anyone is listening and has cancer or has a loved one that's been affected by cancer and you're just looking for an alternative treatment, or if you want to throw our protocol in with your current treatment, that's an option as well. And we do use the hybrid orthomolecular protocol for cancer that we put patients on. It's just a combination of lifestyle changes, nutrition, moving your body, the ivermectin or fenbendazole, membendazole. Sometimes it's one or the other, sometimes it's a couple of them, and so just kind of depends on what's going on. we can help get that information to you, and then again coach you along, make sure you're doing all the right things, and just being there to help support you on that journey. So we do offer that as well.
So as far as cost goes, somebody gets cancer, the first thing they think about is, this is going to cost me a fortune. How am I going to stay alive long enough to even pay for it?
Right.
What's this protocol like comparatively to a natural protocol that they go through at the hospital?
I had a patient just recently that this is crazy. He has cancer and he needed to be discharged from the hospital to a skilled nursing facility just because of the level of care he needed with his daily activities and whatnot. And he needed this chemotherapy, and they would not accept him with that prescription because it was $55,000 a dose, and they didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the hospital had to not put that prescription in their chart for them to leave with, so that that facility would take the patient. So I can assure you right now, a month of ivermectin will run you about $179 or ish, give or take, and a 3-month coaching package for, I think it's $750. And you take that, and then you look at what the hospital's charging just for a dose of chemo, and then $500 for a Tylenol and $50 for a Band-Aid, and don't even, hospitalization is expensive, but then you can't work. So now you don't have that income coming in. And then if you're even on chemo doing outpatient, you don't feel well, so you're missing work, you feel terrible, having all these side effects, and sometimes those side effects can land you in the hospital. But with the ivermectin and the repurposed medications and the other alternative treatments combined, you're not going to have that happen.
Yeah.
You're not going to be dealing with that same scenario. So that's why there's no push to get this treatment to the hospitals, because it doesn't make the hospital money, because ivermectin can't be patented. It's a generic drug, so they can't make money off it. So why would they want to do that, right?
And that's why they told everybody that it was a bad thing when it came to COVID, that it's horse dewormer.
It's horse, yeah. And they laugh about it. Speaking of that, you mentioned your friend Svetlana. Here she is doing some really great things along with you. And what happened to her recently was horrible. Can you update us, or anything changed?
Yeah, last week, Nurse Svetlana, the owner of Ezra Healing in Canada, she had an office that got raided by Health Canada. They said they had a warrant, but they didn't. They lied. And they went in and took $200,000 worth of product from her office. And she now is not
stealing.
That was stealing. Yeah. And then they went on to start a smear campaign. All you have to do is go to Google now, and there's articles about how if you got medication from this company, right away get seen by your doctor, because it's a terrible thing that you
you might get well. We don't want that happening.
Yeah, and the same Google that tells you lies about ivermectin.
Yeah.
Get to your doctor right away. But can I tell you, it backfired on them. I have literally been talking to individuals that say, well, the reason why I'm calling is because I heard about you on the news, on the Canada website and on the Canada News, and we just thought, well, maybe there's something to it. If what they're saying is that it's bad, maybe there's actually something to this. Maybe we should check it out. It's actually been a good thing, because now there's all this exposure, and any press is good press, right? Whether it's bad or good, because then it's going to start having people question things. So we are able to help more people now, and the mission's moving forward. We're not stopping. We're not giving up. We just keep going. And this actually has just motivated us even more. And we've had a ton of support. And thank you, mainstream media.
Yeah,
thank you, Health Canada.
Yeah,
thank you. We're so grateful. We have so much gratitude. We're so grateful for what you did. Thank you so much, because now you just help more people.
Well, I think people are waking up. People are realizing that they're being sold a bill of goods pretty much every time they open the program on TV. And when somebody tells them not to, it's human nature to look a little further. The more black sheep we can pull out of the flock, the better off I think we'll be.
Yes.
And thank you for being a black sheep in this flock with us. So
that's I'm the black sheep. That's the way God made me. And, I used to think it was a bad thing because it has such a negative connotation because everyone just looks at you like you're a weirdo. Went through most of my life thinking, well, gosh, I'm a weirdo. And used to think that it was a negative thing. What a blessing it is. I am so glad to be a weirdo. Mm-hmm. Thank you for making me a weirdo.
Amen.
Because
Amen. High five.
I didn't get the bioweapon. Mm-hmm. There were just so many things. I'm not afraid to step out and speak out. I know that there are risks associated with it, but whatever. It is what it is. I mean, there's a reason why I was made this way. So I'm not going to...
have a calling for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So looking back on all this stuff that took place, was there a specific moment that just kind of cemented you, said, okay, this is it. I'm not going back the other way. This is my charge. This is my fight. I'm going forward. I mean, you've already said whatever happens, happens. When was the moment that took place?
When my friend Nurse Nicole, who's been a wonderful mentor and friend, I went on the podcast Nurses Out Loud. She had interviewed me and she told me, she's like, just want to let you know, when you go public, certain things can happen. You might get death threats. You could possibly even lose your job. You never know. Just be aware of what you're stepping into. So she did give me fair warning, and I just looked at her. I said, look, I have to get this information out about the cancer protocol and whatever it takes. So I said, if that's what happens, then that happens. That was pivotal for me because she gave me the warning, and I said, okay, let's do this.
Really appreciate the fact that you're the type of person that's going to take that on.
Absolutely.
Sure.
You can hear the conviction in your voice and the courage. I'm very glad you listened to that calling. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
So if people want to find you, they find you where?
Sure. If they want to find me, you can go to my website, www.beyondthematrixwellness.com. And from there are all of my links to social media. If you want just to go straight to my Instagram, where I have most of my activity, that's where I'm most active on Instagram. It's a lot to keep up that Instagram account. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I do. And luckily, the reason why I am as active on Facebook now is because a lot of the stuff from Instagram feeds over to Facebook. So if it didn't do that, I don't think I would take the time to do it. It's just a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's for the cause.
Yeah.
Nurse Laura and I, we just have our little inside jokes. I'll even just say this. I don't give a fuck. We were hanging out at the house. We had our legalized ivermectin shirts and her nipples were sticking out and we were trying to take pictures and she just said something about it. I said, it's for the cause.
For the cause. You can't go against it. It's for the cause.
Makes everybody happy.
No one was complaining. So it's for the cause and whatever it takes, right? So those are the two things, for the cause and whatever it takes. So going back to Instagram is where I'm most active. It's so my handle is @beyond.the.matrix.nurse, and you'll find me there as well. But again, if you want to see all the other areas that I'm on social media, you can go to my website. You can sign up for my newsletter. I just do once a month, nothing crazy, not trying to overflow your inbox there. I just put out information about what's the latest and greatest with what's happening with the protocol, and I usually feature somebody from the wellness industry on my newsletter and just talk about the latest podcasts I'm on and what I've been up to. A real brief newsletter. You can sign up for that, and when you do that, you will get the cancer protocol sent to you automatically, as well as a list of the providers that are actively using the protocol. Because even though we do offer that at Ezra,
I signed up for it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even though I do work with Ezra Healing, I feel like everybody should be able to make an informed decision as to who they feel like they vibe with in regards to who they want to have guide them on their wellness journey or their journey with cancer. So I have the other providers on there as well, but you will see the Ezra website first when you sign up on the list of providers. But they're all. Now there's others that I don't know about, because as soon as I get the information, I do update the website. So
okay,
that's a lot of work you're doing. That's
you've
awesome.
been doing the podcast circuit for a little while now, and it's Stu Peters. Stu Peters is who got me through COVID and everything else. So I listened to him for a long time. So I was very impressed. I'm more impressed now that you you've come on our podcast.
I know,
after
you're
being
so
on
kind.
Stupid. So we really appreciate
We
you being
really
our
do,
first guest. We hope
Oh,
you will
I'm-
come back when we are better and more practiced and,
Yes.
and less sloppy.
All the tech works.
No. Yeah, no, you guys have been great. You guys act like you've done this before.
Well, we did it
worked,
for a
honey.
little while. Yeah. But we still have some kinks to work out. We'll get better as we go. But we would like to have you back.
I would love
as
to
we
come
move along,
back.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
thank
much
you.
for being a combat medic and now being
Yes.
a combat healer. We appreciate
Yes.
you.
There you
jumping into
go.
combat
From
for
combat
us.
medic to combat healer. I love that.
Absolutely.